Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. A big welcome to all of you. My name is Laura, and I'm delighted that you are joining us for today's ESPC community webinar. Today, I am joined by Ben Howard, who will talk to you guys all about getting to grips with visual calculations. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESPC_community, and our hashtag is hashtag ESPC24. Don't forget to tweet us, at us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub as well, which is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let your learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar. The future is now, a casual chat about Copilot Studio and generative AI with Davy DeRoque. This webinar is the 8th and final webinar of Microsoft Power Platform Week, and it takes place tomorrow, Friday, the 29th of March, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. CET. To find out more information on this webinar, please check out sharepointeurope.com/Power Platform Week. This is your last chance to save on the European Power Platform Conference 2024 tickets. Grab your EPPC tickets for Brussels this June before they reach full price, or even worse, before they sell out. 3-day tickets are currently sold out, but we recommend purchasing a 2-day ticket and joining the waitlist if you wish to attend 3 days. What will you get out of a 2-day ticket, you might ask? Well, by securing your 2-day ticket, you'll unlock a wealth of knowledge from over 100 incredibly knowledgeable Microsoft Power Platform speakers, covering everything from cutting-edge technologies to innovative strategies across all your favorite topics, such as governance, Dynamics, Power BI, Copilot, AI, Power Automate, etc. But there is also so much more to the European Power Platform Conference than learning. You can also visit the expo to meet 15 plus solution providers, network like a pro, indulge in delicious food, interact on our new conference app, enjoy a fun networking evening at expo drinks, and most importantly, tour around the beautiful city of Brussels. So join us this June and secure your early bird ticket now by visiting sharepointeurope.com/European Power Platform Conference pricing. Have you heard of Belgian Power Addicts before? Well, the Belgian Power Addicts is the Belgian user group focused on the Microsoft Power Platform. Their goal is to build, support, and maintain the Power Platform community within Belgium by hosting community events where knowledge is shared and networking is promoted. The Belgian Power Addicts are driven by love for the life-changing impact of the Microsoft Power Platform has on one's personal and professional life. They are incredibly passionate about the knowledge gained through community sharing across industries, disciplines, and skills. And they have an obsessive need to bring positive change and provide sustainable solutions within the Microsoft Power Platform. So please do check them out and check out their Power Talk events. So after the webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any question you might have into the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. And as always, this webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to hand you over to today's webinar presenter, Ben. Hello, Ben, and thanks for joining us again today.
Hello, how are you doing? I think, hello.
Hello, we can hear you there, Ben, and we can see your slides.
Great, thank you very much, Laura. I shall take it away. Great to be back with you again, just this time for 20 minutes, and we're going to cover off visual calcs. Now, the guy that sets all of this up, the senior product manager for this is Hiron, or Jay, as we kind of call him, and so kudos to him, because I didn't create my slides, really. I stole them from him. I didn't take all of his slides, just some of them, and you know, what better man to take slides from. So thanks to him for the slides, and he does give me rights to use them, and I fully acknowledge they are his. So visual calculations are in the product now. They're kind of a pre-release feature, and they're there to help make DAX easier to write. Okay, DAX is difficult without a doubt. I mean, it's simple, as you know, Alberto says, but it's complex. Okay, it's simple to write, but actually it's complex. It's complex because of filter context, etc. So many people kind of cut and paste DAX when it gets quite hard. Okay, it's easy to do a sum or a row count, but when we're doing more complex formulas, often it's a Control-C, Control-V from somewhere else. We kind of hope that it works. Okay, so writing DAX is hard, or specifically understanding different filter contexts is hard, and transition and all of those sorts of things. They're difficult to understand, especially if you come to Power BI from more kind of an Excel user perspective. So if you're a database developer, then and you've been doing this for 20 years, DAX isn't so hard. But if you're used to writing formulas and if statements in Excel, then certainly DAX becomes pretty hard pretty quickly. When we talk about DAX today, DAX calculations, or as they're called, measures, they exist in the model, and they're kind of independent of each other. So if I write total sales once in the model, then that DAX measure applies to everything in the model, regardless of what filters I apply to it. And also so writing stuff in the model is complex because ultimately it's difficult to understand exactly where our measures will be used and how they will be used. It's difficult to write a measure that's going to take into account every potential visualization or filter or combination of clicks that somebody's going to have on a screen or present on a screen. Things like running totals, moving averages are actually pretty hard to do, even with that little tool called Quick Measures, etc. So DAX is hard, and that's kind of a starting point for visual calculations. So what Microsoft have done to try and make DAX easier is to really try and define DAX and some calculations at the visual level. So not at the model level, but at the visual level. So it becomes much more kind of Excel-like, and you don't have to worry too much about all the other filters, because you'll apply a filter that will apply to the visual, and then visual calculations will run on the filter. Okay, sorry, on the visual. It'll become fairly obvious when I do a demo shortly. Much easier to write because Microsoft have introduced a function called moving average or running total, and so these functions, you no longer have to use a window function or take off a number of quarters to calculate the same period last year, etc. So that's a lot easier. And where we're trying to get to is provide you with some templates, so you don't have to think about the DAX. You just say, hey, I want a running total, and you can pick up a template and just fill in the relevant fields. Okay, so this is what visual calculations do. They are DAX calculations defined on a visual, and they refer to any field that's on the visual, including other visual calcs, but visual calculations cannot refer to measures or fields that are not on a visual. So they are scoped to a visual, that's what that says. And we're not really, we kind of will cover this off a little bit, but one of the things people struggle with when we're writing DAX is the whole, if you're coming from an Excel perspective, is that whole idea of, well, I know where the data is in a cell, it's in that row and that column. Well, we don't have rows and columns really in a complex semantic model. You can't really identify them. We have filter contexts, etc. And so one of the things Visual Calcs allows us to do is that we can refer to the visual structure as well. So we can say, hey, I'd like the previous field, yeah, or the previous field in the previous column. Okay, and most of the time you don't have to worry about this whole complexity of filter context. So it's visual calculations are there to try and make life easy for you. Let's just compare them with calculated columns, measures, etc. So if you spent any time with DAX, you'll know that a calculated column is defined on a table and it's calculated at refresh time. It's always there. It takes database size, etc. A measure is defined in the model. It's not honed to a table as such. It works on a set of rows when that filter context has been applied. The measure doesn't exist until it is computed. So until it's placed on a visual, then that measure is calculated. And if we change the filter context for that visual, if we change the filter on that visual, then the measure is recalculated, of course. Visual calculations are defined on a visual. Okay, so they are tied to a visual, not the model, not a table, to a visual in the kind of what we might call the visible context. They're computed at query execution, so when that visual displays its data, and we can refer to the visual structure on there. Okay, just worth having a quick mental model about this. This is a mock-up screenshot, but we'll see this in real life very shortly. I wanted a laser pointer there, not a pen. Okay, so in our mental model, we know pretty much any visual can be represented as a matrix. Okay, so here we've got some categories and two values. Here we have the categories, which would be year, and then the two values. A visual calculation adds a column to that matrix. So here's the calculation called RS sales, whatever that stands for. So it just becomes another column. Even though we add it to the matrix, we can hide that column from the visual. We don't need to add it to the visual. Or, of course, we can hide these other columns from the visual and just display the new visual column, the new calculated column, RS sales. Okay, and if we create RS sales, then we could create another visual calculation which could reference RS sales. Okay, so pretty easy to well, not pretty easy to do. No, it is easy to do. Let's go and have a look at a demo. Okay, so looking at time, we're doing okay. There's my Power BI file that I wanted. Let's escape out of there. Dum-de-dum. There we go. Visual Calcs. Okay, so hopefully you can see the Power BI report that I've got. Very simple. There's no report on there. I've got some data. Let's just have a look. I've got a set of financial data, which is just the Excel sheet that you get with Power BI when you say, hey, I want to create a new report from a sample data set. I've just updated the date to be referenced this year. And I've got a date table as well, which is fine. That's just calculated in the usual way. And then I've got a little table with a couple of measures already in there. Okay, so I've got total cost of goods sold, which is basically the sum of the cost of goods sold and total sales. Okay, so that's what we've got. Let's just create a simple bar chart on as my visual. Okay, so we're just in that bar chart going to put total sales. We'll add that in and we'll put that by month for argument's sake. Okay, and I don't really mind how it's ordered, but in this case we'll order by month, and then we'll order that ascending. Oh, and of course I forgot to set this up. That's probably not the smartest. Well, that will do. Actually, I don't need that because I'll get rid of a month later. But what do I mean? Everything can be can be thought of as a table? Well, if I go into focus mode and we just scroll this back a little bit, and I go here, then I can show the data as a table. This is available for every visual. Okay, so that's what I mean when, you know, this is how we need to have our mental notes so we can think about this as a table. Okay, so let's go back to report. I'm not going to show sales by month. I'm going to show sales by category first of all. So let's just see, we should have a category or product. Okay, so let's go and play around with visual calculations now. In this group, I've got a field called visual or new calculation, which is a calculation applied to a visual. So it opens up this page. Okay, so let's just say that I wanted to calculate the running sum of the sales, something that's quite difficult to do. So what we can do is we can click on this button which says insert an expression, which is a template. Okay, so these are the templates. We've got running sum, moving average, percent of parent, percent of grand total, average of children versus previous, next. So this is where we start to look at context or the structure of the table. So let's just create a running sum. So I'll call that, this is just standard DAX, right? So I'll call this running sum of sales. And notice we have a new a new function here, which is called running sum. And then if I get rid of this field and just have the square bracket, what we have to choose from, the options in the drop-down list, effectively are the items in the visual calculation. So I can't access anything else in the model. Okay, I can't access financials, cost of goods sold. Notice it's not coming up for me. There's no autocomplete. I can only access what's in the model. So I'll choose total sales and just hit commit. And now I've got a new calculation for the running sum of total sales. Okay, let me just put this back. I'm going to change this to be a matrix, and then in some respects that's easier to see the visual count for that. Okay, now I can go and add in, let's just say, let's add in cost of goods sold as well, and the values. So I'll have total sales and cost of goods sold. Okay, now I could also then create profit. Okay, because profit is just equal to, and what's it equal to? Well, square bracket is going to be equal to the total sales minus the cost of goods sold. Okay, the sum of COGS as we've got it in here. And I can press return on that. And again, that will just give me the profit. Okay, so this is quite neat. What else can we do? Well, maybe in this visual calc, I didn't want to see the total sales or the running sum. I'm just interested in the profit. So I could come here and hide these other fields and just display the field, the calculated field that I've created. So the visual calculation, as in the profit one here, is soaked purely to that visual. Okay, so if I created another visual and I wanted to put profit on, well, profit doesn't exist anywhere. Okay, profit doesn't exist in the model, so I can't search for it here. The only place profit exists is here on this visual. So it's a visual calculation, a calculation just on that visual. Okay, let's go back to this. If I wanted to edit this, then we go back into new calculation. That brings up the editing window for me. There's a couple of other things we could do. If we get out of profit there, we could put country onto here, And so now we've got Canada and France, and we could do some things, again, which are fairly difficult to do. We could do percent of parent. Okay, so we'll just say profit, or we'll have total, yeah, we'll have percent of profit of parent, if you like. It's a long bit of a long wordy field, but in here, again, what can I use? I can use anything that we have has been defined on the visual, if you like. So any of these values, even though some have been hidden. So I'll say profit, and then again, same in here for profit. Sorry, profit. And then the axis at the moment, this is just going to be rows, because I'm going to look down the row, across each row, if you like. So we click OK on there. And then we can see the percentage of Amarilla within Canada. So all of this little lot will add up to 1. So percent profit of parent, and we could do the same sort of thing with percent of grand total. Again, we'll just leave that as that. We'll put profits in there. Oh, profit. And again, rows. Okay. So that's a very quick overview of Visual Calcs. I know we've not got too much time. One of the things that I could do, or there's a few things that we can't do at the moment, which will be coming on. And one thing worth mentioning is, let's just say, the formatting. So if I go and edit the profit, at the moment, the profit is showing me 2 decimal places. Well, maybe I don't want that, because the 0.38 cents or pence or whatever we are doesn't make in the grand scheme of things is too detailed. So what we can do, this is just pure DAX, we can just format this. So we can just say format, in fact we can do it this way, format that, and then what sort of formatting do we want? Well, we can just have if we get rid of that, we can just do it that way, and that will get rid of those decimal places for me. Oh, that won't. All right, let me have a look at that. I need to put a round bracket around there. Okay, so now when we're looking at profit, we've lost the decimal point at the end. Okay, so I expect Microsoft will bring in formatting, etc., into the UI, but at the moment it's not there. Okay, that was pretty much what I wanted to tell you. I think we had 20 minutes, and that's what we've used. I think the main thing to take away for me is that Visual Calcs are on the visual, and they can access only things on that visual. It should make DAX writing, or it should make writing DAX a lot easier, especially for people who are coming to it from Excel rather than a database background or a SQL background. And from what I hear from Microsoft, they're expecting a lot of DAX to be written in this way. One other thing I should say, can I copy these visual calculations around? Well, yes, I can, but they're not stored anywhere. The easiest way I find to copy them around is to copy a visual and just paste it, and then decide what I want to do and display, because then I've got all of the values here. Of course, if I delete something if I delete one of the original values, so let's just say total sales here, I decide I'm going to get rid of that, then everything else is going to fail, because these things are referencing total sales, and total sales no longer exists on the visual. Okay, so you've got to think about what you're doing, but it will bring, I think, a lot of value to the community. Okay, that was it. I'm happy to stop now and take some questions.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ben, for a great demo. So I just see one question in here, but if anyone has any questions in the meantime, feel free to type them into the questions box, as we have another couple of minutes So the question here is how to turn on new calculation tool. My Power BI desktop doesn't have this option.
Okay, I think you've got to be on Power BI desktop for March. Okay, so make sure that you are on March. I think either February or March. Slated to deliver in March. It might have been February. If it doesn't have the option and you are on one of those, you have to go in one of those releases. So post February, you have to go into tools and options, as I'm just about to do. Go into the preview features and turn on visual calculations down at the bottom here. Okay, so make sure that is turned on. And it's worth a quick shout out on the Learn More piece. There is a whole, obviously on Microsoft Learn, just go and search for visual calculations and this will bring up pages which will tell you what's happening and give you more information on the visual calculations. So definitely you need to just go into a preview feature. It is currently a preview feature. Make sure that that is checked on. But I think that preview feature, as I say, came around February or March 2024.
Brilliant. Thanks a million for answering that question, Ben. So there doesn't seem to be any more questions coming in, so we might just wrap up the session there. So I just want to say a huge thanks to yourself, Ben, for taking the time today to carry out this webinar. We really do appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. It's always a pleasure to do this sort of things for the community.
Fantastic. So that is the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thanks again to everyone for joining us today, and I hope that you'll join us again soon. Bye for now.